Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host, Nacho, and this week I'm joined by my colleagues,
RJ.
and
Daan.
Daan!
that's a deep cut, and apologies to our audio listeners. I don't know, can we include that clip? We should not include that clip in the thing. But those who know,
They know.
Exactly. But yeah, perfect. And today we are going to be discussing the topic of the most underrated watch brands.
Oh.
But before we get into that, let's do a little bit of wrist check. RJ, what's on your wrist today?
Today I'm wearing my Speedmaster Professional 3570.50. And I thought about it this morning, and I think it's the first Speedmaster I bought brand new
Okay.
back in 2012. And
This specific one?
this
or-
specific one,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, amazing.
And before that, I had Speedmasters, but all pre-owned and vintage. And I think 2012 was the first time I bought one brand new at a dealer in Amsterdam. And I wear it on a strap. And normally I wear it always on a bracelet. But
Right.
I borrowed it to a friend of mine. She had her service. She has exactly the same one. She had her serviced, and I gave mine for her to wear.
Oh, as a loaner.
because
right.
I have another one.
Sure.
And but I had to resize the bracelet so much.
Oh, okay. So it wouldn't.
And it's a bit of a hassle with the pins in the old
Ah, yeah.
bracelet. So I
Pins and
just put it
collars.
on a leather strap now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it looks nice on a leather strap.
It looks really good,
Yeah.
especially on like a little two-stitch strap like that.
Yeah.
It's a great look for it. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Fun to watch. Yeah.
Perfect. And
cool.
Dan, what about on your wrist?
I'm wearing my Cartier Santos.
Oh, give the
Nice.
people what they want. That's
XL.
that's the one, right? That's the most viewed on your Instagram, the most liked.
This is it.
It's it. Yeah, it's a magic
This is it.
magic square.
You can drop the
Watch.
mic now.
Exactly.
Don't drop the mic,
Oh.
please. It's I don't think you physically could drop the mic. Don't
Not
try,
these, actually.
please. Yeah, and I'm wearing my Tudor Pelagos FXD.
Yeah.
It's the black dial version, and I'm wearing it on a little khaki.
We're not
green,
really wearing any
Velcro strap.
underrated.
No. So
watches.
the watches don't have to be underrated, the ones that we are wearing, but we are going to be discussing a little bit about some underrated watch brands. But first, we have to give a little bit of context, right? Because I don't think that we are going to be necessarily talking about some smaller brands, like some micro brands as well, because we feel that really what defines an underrated brand is a brand with history, a brand that's been around for a long time, and typically it has to be a larger brand that is underappreciated, that sort of thing, rather than a smaller brand which is perhaps simply in their arc of their history just not that well known yet or that appreciated yet. In this case, we are going to be focusing on brands that would be considered like legacy brands that we feel are underrated. So that's kind of the angle that we've used to shape our list. Perhaps RJ, we can kick things off with the first one on your list. I should say we've each picked 3 brands, so we'll go through them one by one.
I will start with the easiest one. I'll leave the most difficult one that needs more context for later on.
Okay.
But I'll start with Breguet. I think they're underrated, also compared to their peers in the watch industry, which is like a Lange, Vacheron, Patek, AP. I think quality-wise they are on par, but they're underrated. I feel and underappreciated, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's the word. And
But it's also a little bit because of how the brand is
It's due to
acting
themselves.
right now, right?
it's due to themselves, and I feel it's a pity. And I think they have so much to use, so much legacy. I think what they're missing is like sports models from the 70s, but also a Lange doesn't have that, for example.
Definitely not.
But Patek has the Nautilus, the Vacheron has the Overseas or 222, and AP obviously has the Royal Oak. I don't think they have much else, to be honest. But with Breguet, it's I think with the Classique and with the Tradition, I think they're very nice watches. Even the Marine, you could say, those are beautifully made watches, well-made watches. They're just underrated, and I think it's a lack of marketing effort. Because I think there are some proper fans out there of the brand. There are collectors of Breguet out there that really value these watches. Wherever you get to see a Breguet, I think people are always a bit in awe. But it's a difficult brand.
Yeah.
And I think it's the positioning that makes it difficult.
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot there. history-wise, heritage-wise, also to do with even the current models and previous models. If you look at the catalog, it's some incredible watches that have been made throughout the history, the long history of the brand. And perhaps it is just a matter of communication and not having played into the hype or become a brand tied up in that. But
I think it was always a matter of communication or lack of communication, and now you see that. There's a stronger demand again for smaller watches and dress watches, but especially smaller sized watches. And I think in the past they made a lot of smaller sized watches at Breguet, and I feel it's a matter of switching the machine on again to make the cases a little bit smaller, because all the classiques they went to 40 or 41, I think 40.
Yeah, quite big.
But you can also make them 38 and smaller. They had that. You have a smaller Breguet
watch. I was thinking,
34.5.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Which is classic sort of dress watch
36, 37, I think, and it should not be that hard for them. I think they have movements that will fit.
But I also think they should maybe make a move to more modern design, because sometimes when I wear my Breguet, like people say, "Oh, it's a beautiful watch, it's beautifully made." But it looks very class. It's a classique.
It's a super classic watch.
It's either the
classique, I guess.
It's the classique. It's the tradition, right? But perhaps you want something a little bit more bold, contemporary, and a little bit out there. And I think it's a brand that definitely has the skills to do that. And they just need a bit of, I think, guidance in terms of
I
design.
think the modern Marines are not that bad looking, to be honest.
No. They're a bit polarizing, right?
Yeah,
you either love them or you don't.
But they can do it. I don't know what they need to change, but at least they will have a new CEO soon.
Oh yeah, true. New set of eyes.
Gary Kisling, and I think he did very well with Omega and with the Moonswatch and with before he worked at Cartier, the horlogerie part. So yeah, let's see what it will bring.
Will we see a bioceramic Breguet? Who knows?
Who knows? I don't think so.
That's a lot of stuff that wasn't on our bingo card so far this year, but so we'll see what 2025. Well, it might be a little bit longer, but
I don't know what they need to do different. What I see, if I look at the older classics, you see the crowns are a bit pointy. They're a bit old school looking, old fashioned looking. I think they fixed that, but perhaps it's the case shape, or I don't know.
But then at some point, it's when something becomes so signature to your brand, it's probably very hard to move away from it. But
because also the coin edge, the side of the classique, it's so classic,
so Breguet,
but it belongs to the brand.
But look at the Code 1159, right? When you look at that, they try to keep some of the design cues, the octagonal mid case, that kind of stuff. They try to keep some of the signature.
For me, that's a cool part of that watch.
It's the little callback. So that kind of goes to show that you may not get it right the first time, but there is potential for expansion into new models. And I think today more than ever, it's brands need to kind of take some chances and get weird with it, right? I think that seems to be what works, and I think Breguet has a ton of potential and definitely underrated.
Yeah, we can dedicate a whole podcast about Breguet, I feel. So let's go on.
Let's go on to you, Dan. What is Dan? What is your first list of your first pick on your list?
My first pick is Hermes.
Okay,
because I think it's a brand I really like because of the things they do with their watches, and I think many people don't know that they have a lot of skills in house to develop these watches, and they work together with Vaucher for the movements, and with Chronode for the modules they put on top for the L'Heure de la Lune, for example, and they make very original designs, I think. So I think they're underrated for.
Do you think they suffer from the same as Louis V and Chanel, for example?
For sure, yeah.
Because they are seen as fashion houses or leather goods or trunks or whatever.
Yeah.
Jewelry,
belts.
So the same applies to the three brands, I guess.
They all have the skills in house.
Yeah, because Hermes makes beautiful watches, but also feel Louis Vuitton really makes beautiful watches.
Yeah. That could be. This could be even like the fashion category where you include Louis Vuitton, Chanel, and Hermes. But Hermes, I do agree that it's. I mean, every year at Watches and Wonders, when you see those watches, you think, they put a minute repeater in there, and they did this and did this and did this. I remember seeing this Arceau. I don't remember what the specific model's name was, but it was just seriously impressive watches showing a different time zone with these hovering discs. It was absolutely incredible.
Exactly,
stuff.
and also the materials they use, and the designs are very original. I think also
even the H8,
yeah,
right? Time only, but maybe
sports
with
watch.
Do you think that in the end they suffer a little bit from the same issue as Breguet to get the word out on their watches targeting the right audience?
Yeah, but I also feel that Hermes doesn't want to scream or doesn't want to.
Yeah, but none of these brands, except Louis Vuitton, perhaps.
Yeah,
but none of these
maybe,
brands, they are really.
Yeah, they want to stay under the radar, but still,
not.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's also
But,
the baggage, right? The baggage of being a fashion brand first. I
Yeah.
think that you don't want suddenly to like have watches take over, right? I mean, they still have so many things that they're doing.
Yeah.
From
Well, I think the good
handbags
thing
to-
for them is that they have their stores and they have a lot of traffic in their stores.
Yeah, but
But
it's limited, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel that outside of those stores, a lot of people don't think about, when you think about watches, you don't think about Hermes
I think the problem is that
not necessarily.
or Louis Vuitton or
Yeah. I think these brands also suffer a little bit that they want to be perceived as the "if you know" brand,
Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
but you have to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to let certain people know that they need to know. That
otherwise
they
no
know
one
about
knows.
the brand.
But
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's like, imagine walking. I did this just this weekend into the little Mont Blanc boutique at the Milan airport.
Nice
and
pens.
there's that's the thing. So you see leather goods,
Yeah.
you see pens and inks,
Yeah.
you see notebooks, you see some luggage, and then there's like a small vitrine with some watches in it.
You forgot about the cufflinks.
The cufflinks as well.
Yes.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, realistically, Mont Blanc, the immediate association is
Pens and leather goods. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think they even have perfume, stuff like that.
Oh, definitely.
It's and sunglasses. So it's
Mont Blanc Explorer smells like Creed.
okay.
Yeah, but better. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's amazing.
But yeah, the watches almost feel a bit like an afterthought. So and I'm sure they're definitely. Well, I know that they're not. But in a way, it's when you do a lot of things, then it's hard to,
I think they also have a new CEO.
I think so.
I saw something
Could be,
yesterday.
yeah. I
of the
wonder
general
why they
shuffle.
are so focused on getting the watches out. Because in the very start, I got it with Mont Blanc. They made these watches, I think Time Walker collection.
Mhm.
Fun watches. I think they were definitely made somewhere else, perhaps even outside that group.
Yeah.
And those were fun watches, not too expensive, just nice watches. And then I get it, because some parts of the world, I think people want to be seen with familiar brands, right? And it doesn't matter if that's a watch brand or not.
Yeah.
Just Mont Blanc is a name.
You buy into the lifestyle.
You,
as well,
you buy
right?
into the brand name.
into the brand. Yeah.
And then they became more serious. They even bought Minerva,
Yeah.
and the high-end stuff is all Mont Blanc Minerva.
Yeah.
But why do you want to do that? I get it, because I know some watch brands, they also start to do sunglasses and so on, just to make sure that nobody else can make sunglasses under their name.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the thing with Mont Blanc. Perhaps the first ones I could be, but what they do now, entire collections, high end, that's like a separate category of products.
It's too much.
It's almost like have a separate brand where you have your watches, but have it be a different thing. It's something you want to capitalize from putting the brand
but
that
why?
is well known on it. But
I didn't put Richemont that Mont Blanc watch money into Baume & Mercier watches. You could wonder, because they completely disappeared off the radar.
yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, but it's a little bit. We were discussing before the podcast, also talking about Leica, right? And you think, does it necessarily make sense? I mean, they're really putting a lot into it, into how those watches are manufactured, and you sort of think, yeah, but when people think Leica, they think cameras, and when you walk into the Leica boutique, you probably want to get a camera or a lens or a
and
bag.
they have the watches.
Yeah.
And when I asked them, so are these being how many people are
Is
buying
anyone
them?
buying this?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's a different product for us. They said, well, we don't know.
It's for the very, very few that are really, really bought into the brand, and they have all the cameras, they have their M10, they have their Q3,
And I get it
they have
that-
everything.
It's a bit like the car dealers, like BMW, Mercedes. They all have watches.
Yeah.
In their
But that feels like
in
that's
their-
lower stakes. You get those made in
Those are like
Far
corporate
East,
gifts
and they
almost,
just have the
promotion
logo
gifts.
printed. Exactly. Yeah, but
But perhaps
it is
it's also-
interesting, that criteria specifically.
Perhaps how Louis Vuitton started, or Hermes, that they get traffic into the boutiques for their bags, and mainly bags, I guess, at Hermes. And then, let's also do a watch, because if we have people in anyway, we can also sell them a watch. And I think it just took off, and they took it more seriously. And then,
Yeah.
but yeah, But yeah, Hermes watches are super nice.
Definitely, and underrated.
So Mont Blanc's your choice? No.
No. My choice is not Mont Blanc. We sort of riffed off quite a few brands there, but my first choice is Girard-Perregaux.
Yeah.
Which I feel, given the history of the brand, given everything that the brand has done throughout history, and some of the models, if you look back and you think about
Richeville.
the Richeville, the Laureato, the Casquette, even the Casquette is one that's often forgotten. I mean, recently there's been a bit more noise made about it with Yves Saint Laurent and stuff like this, the
really
reissues.
cool,
But I think that it's like it's kind of quietly sneaking on us. Next year is the 50th anniversary of the Laureato, actually.
Ooh.
So it's the kind of thing where you think, yeah, that's probably going to bring some quite special things from the brand. And
I keep looking at the Laureato 8010.
oh, yeah.
And it's selling for like 10 or above, 10, 15K. Steel integrated
watch,
bracelet.
And it's a
nice
good
watch,
design.
but,
For me, that's the thing.
it's really nice.
It's one that I see on my wrist and I think, I could wear this. This is like super, super nice.
I think they have an issue with the storytelling because
Could be.
when it was still called SIHH, the show in Geneva,
Mhm.
they also come with the Laureato, and I think it's ceramic or deals. That was not good, but it's. I asked them, so who designed this watch back in 70 something, and they said, well, we don't know, no idea.
Really? Oh.
And I feel that's the difference with Patek and the AP and a Fashion. They know this stuff.
Well, and Patek and AP can just say Genta. It's almost the magic word, right?
But even with Fashion High Sec, I mean, it's lesser known than Genta for sure, but
there's
it's a name.
Exactly.
And there's no name with Girard-Perregaux, so there's no storytelling. And perhaps back then storytelling was not so important, but it's important now, right?
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much story to tell. There's all these pocket watches, the whole Esmeralda, the three bridges, all this. It's just incredible stuff, and absolutely one that's really worth digging into. And I would consider it underrated, right? It's definitely it's one of those. It's a bit like Breguet. There's so much there, yet somehow we don't hear about it.
Yeah, they make many movements for different companies as well.
Yeah,
even for Cartier, the Pasha with the Power Reserve is also a GP movement, and I think they did some more. It's beautiful brand, beautiful manufacture.
Absolutely,
good choice. Yeah.
Thanks. Should we move on to your second choice?
Yes,
perfect.
It's Chopard, but it's the LUC, Louis Ulysse Chopard, and is it under? It's. I think it's still underrated compared to the other big names in haute horlogerie. But if you look at the manufacture in Fleurier, it's so nicely done. And they started in '96 with LUC, and it took a little while, but I think they are a well-established
they're beautiful
haute horlogerie brand
right
now. But it's still a bit underrated compared to the other big names out there. And I think even this year we saw beautiful LUC with a green dial, and it's a bit of a, they call it themselves a bit of an entry level. I don't like the name, but it's such a nice watch, and it's 12K, and I think you get a lot of watch for that money. It's a beautiful movement.
Definitely. The salmon dial. The
finishing is awesome. The dials are awesome. It's really impressive.
I really like the world timers as well.
Yeah.
Those are,
yeah, for me it's
really
the micro rotor ones, just the time only ones. Those are my favorites. And last year they did the 1860 with the salmon dial.
Yeah.
And I think the price is high. It's like 25K for a steel watch, loosened steel. But if you look at the pre-owned market, you can find those for around 10. I think, man, that's an incredible, like, super nice watch.
And I think if you even look at the pre-owned market, you might find some older ones that are white gold.
Yeah, definitely.
White gold
So for 10, 11K, you have a gold
same.
one. You get insane value for money. But even with the new ones, I feel you get a lot of value for money. And I know it's not about the price and the cost price are two different things, but I think you get an amazing watch. At LUC.
It's similar to what we see with Breguet, right? Where the pre-owned prices definitely don't reflect the quality and the craftsmanship that
compared to the peers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah.
No, I agree. That's also a really good pick. It's always also something that we get to see at Watches and Wonders, and always look forward to it because there's always something just incredibly impressive. And I think, for me, there's a special soft spot for that world timer.
And they do everything in house.
Black case,
nice, right?
It's so good. It's awesome.
They do everything in house. So also the cases, the bracelets it's amazing to see. They have their own foundry, the gold foundry. It's impressive.
Yeah. Very cool. Daan, your second pick?
Yeah, when we were discussing, we were also discussing more
Moonswatch?
affordable Moonswatch. No, more
That did come
affordable
up.
options, maybe. So I was thinking, and we mentioned some brands in the Swatch group. So I think Mido was there, and Bulova. Bulova is not
No,
Not in the
it's
Swatch group,
Citizen,
but
group,
we
I
said
think.
I think also Rado and Certina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but they have some nice. So Mido has the vintage special editions, and Bulova has the oceanographer with the nice hour markers.
Oh yeah,
I think,
they look like little see-through blocks.
see-through,
yeah.
But do you
glass
think they're
blocks.
underrated price-wise, or are they underappreciated by the masses?
Yeah, by the masses maybe.
Mm.
Maybe people are just getting tired of the vintage inspired watches, but I think they're nicely done, and I don't see them out there
No,
that much.
a little bit less. And it's true that with Swatch Group brands, especially those kinds of Swatch Group brands like the Certinas, Midos, and Rados, perhaps, you do lose a little bit of the heritage storytelling.
Yeah.
If you walk by a multi-brand boutique and you see the little platform with the watches on there, you're kind of missing a little bit of the sort of the storytelling that's there. But if you look at Certina, there's so many great stories behind the brand about.
Certina sold a lot of watches to Volvo.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of, if
That's
you look
true.
on eBay or Kleinanzeigen,
Oh yeah.
if you want,
Germany.
if you search for Certina and Volvo, you get so many watches because they made these special editions for Volvo employees or something as gifts, or perhaps like BMW now with plastic watches. But I think Volvo, there's some link between
get that
Volvo
with,
and Certina.
You get that with Nomos as well. There's a lot of Siemens employees. I think after 10 or I don't know how many years, they get a Nomos watch that has the Siemens
Siemens?
logo on it.
Oh, Siemens.
Siemens. Yeah, please. Please. A lot of those watches are for sale in German classified ads. Yeah,
My father-in-law worked for Siemens for like 40 years. I think that's what people do at Siemens.
I think so.
He didn't get a Nomos, no.
What the hell?
What the hell, man?
Oh, that's just not fair.
You got a
Send a
Rolex.
complaint.
Yeah,
But he got
for
discount on his kitchen appliances and so on.
That's good. That's a good payoff.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's not a watch. No, but I agree. I think that Daan is definitely onto something with saying that like those Swatch Group brands can be a little bit underrated, underappreciated as well. They're popular for sure, but I feel that they definitely don't get the credit that other brands do, just because they feel like they're part of this group.
Yeah,
It's an
maybe
interesting
that,
thing.
yeah.
Cool. My second pick is Zenith.
Yeah.
And that's because it's again, it's a brand that feels like there's so much history there, and honestly, they're making just incredible watches today. The prices, of course, have slowly crawled up. So
Yeah, we
they're
got some
now,
comments right on our under 10K series.
Yeah,
that we
that's
we
the
all
thing.
picked Zenith watches.
we all picked Zenith
for a
watches,
reason.
and I
Yeah,
think for a
exactly,
reason.
yeah.
And I think that the difficulty there though was to have to pick some of the watches like not on a bracelet but on a strap.
Yeah.
Because now they are just a little bit above that 10K price point.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing where it was like kind of the scraping the underside of 10K. It was basically the best watch that you could potentially get from a brand with a ton of heritage. And I think I don't want to foreshadow your next pick, RJ, but there's also, when you start looking at those numbers, it gets a little bit tricky, and we'll see why in a second. But yeah, I think Zenith is a solid pick for an underrated watch brand. I think also the strategy that they have of having heritage pieces like the Defy watches that they've released now 2 years in a row at Watches and Wonders.
Yeah, the Chrono
That
Masters
you have,
and so on.
but you have the heritage piece, right? Like I'm thinking about this orange diver, but then they also give you a Defy that's modern at the same time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you have this kind of very nice balance of like heritage reissue and brand new. But then, of course, Zenith also goes completely crazy with materials and colors and all these things in the Defy Extreme and all that kind of stuff. So it's you have anything from classic looking watches all the way up to the wild and wonderful.
And they do a lot themselves. So
yeah.
If you go to the manufacturer, you see the department where you see the brass bars, and in the end, those will be movements.
Exactly.
It's a bit like Breguet. very impressive manufacturer to visit. And I think the problem it has been a while that I was at the manufacturer, and back then the problem was their catalog was a bit fulfilled.
Like all over the place, or
diluted, or
Diluted.
too much stuff in there.
Yeah.
right.
And I think many brands suffer from that. But I think the production number at Zenith is relatively low.
Yeah, now
So
it's
if you
quite
then-
a focused collection,
Yeah, so
right?
if you then have a lot of SKUs in your catalog, it becomes a bit chaotic. But now
Yeah.
I think they cleaned it up. There's more structure, and
Yep.
I
It
think
looks
they do a really
nice,
nice job. And good movements. I mean,
Absolutely.
69 onwards, it's amazing.
Yeah, the El Primero.
El
I
Primero
mean,
movement.
that's to have a movement like that, a bit like the 3-2-1,
Yeah.
where it's like such a signature thing
Yeah.
for the brand. And then in this case, the fact that it was, not the first automatic chronograph. We know who that goes to. Shout out to Seiko. Definitely not an underrated brand.
Yeah.
But it was the high beat. It's a beautiful movement. You find it in anything from. York wrote an article, right?
Yeah.
About anything from Abel to
Movado
to
even
Movado.
and Panerai.
Panerai as well.
But and it's very serviceable. Even the first 69 movements can still be perfectly serviced, and they
For sure.
they just use new parts, or they can make the old parts. It's really amazing.
For sure.
I really like the new Pilot as well.
Yeah,
It's,
that's cool.
Some people don't.
The
but,
300 or the chronograph?
Well, I like the chronograph. It's a bit
Yeah.
big for,
It's a bit
for
big,
my own wrist, but
And it's a rainbow colors.
I like
so
it, yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's really, really cool. So we foreshadowed it. Should we skip you for a second and go back to Daan and then go
Okay.
into your final one? Because
Okay.
I think the final one's
no,
gonna...
do it.
Should we do it?
Go ahead.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Let's jump into what may be the final one. This might lead us
Okay,
to wrap
this
up.
needs definitely context, because people will hate me for this, but I don't care. I feel like Nico Lennart, man.
F the haters.
F the haters, yes. No, it's and it's also something that Jasper Leijvering from Amsterdam Vintage Watches, very popular seller in the Netherlands, but also outside of the Netherlands. He's a well-known vintage Rolex dealer.
Mhm.
I think Rolex is underrated, and for two reasons. Let me grab my notes.
Ooh,
Because there's two. I think there's two target audiences that underrate this brand. I think it's a target audience that just buy it for the brand name on the dial, who don't have a clue how good the watch actually is that they just have bought.
Exactly.
But they just buy it for the name. And I think the same is also with fashion house like Hermes or Chanel. They just buy it because of the name, but the products are really good.
Yeah.
And I think the same is for Rolex. The Rolex watches are really impressively built watches. And especially if you look at it for the retail price, you get a lot of watch for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if you then look at other watches from other brands that operate at the same price level or a little bit up, then I think Rolex is really a good watch.
For sure.
Then it's also, I think, underrated by the people who look down upon Rolex. It's for how do you say, show-offs. It's for, they have all these reasons. It's not horlogerie, or it's for show-offs and yada yada. They look down on Rolex as a brand, and I think that also those people underrate Rolex for what it is.
Yeah.
They are capable of creating such a impressive performer in an industrialized way. So many Rolexes are being produced, and we saw it in the new Rolex book.
It's on the shelf.
It's on the shelf.
On the shelf right there.
If you look at the production numbers per reference number, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's really insane. And then if you are capable of doing that almost flawlessly, and of course there were some problems with the caliber 32 XX, but hey, that is what it is, and it's probably fixed already or will be fixed. I think it's an amazing brand, and
the quality is
just
so
there.
high,
There are some things that I don't like about Rolex, which is their policy about distribution that we all know about. But as a product as such, I definitely feel it's underrated.
It's really good.
When you look at just it like product price, and then you compare it to stuff to other watches that are at that similar price. If you look at the new price of a sub, it's around 10K. If you look at the new price of a Daytona, it's probably around
15K or something.
15 or something. Yeah. And you think, okay, well that's you could get an IWC Ingenieur in titanium with that, but that's not a comparable. That shouldn't be a comparable thing quality-wise.
No, I like the looks of the engineer.
Looks
from
great.
others is great
for sure.
But if I look at how it's made and how it's done, no,
Yeah.
it's for that money, Rolex.
And that's why I was also then kind of foreshadowing it with the Zenith, because you go, well, the Zenith is just over 10K on the bracelet, the Chronomaster original. I think it's the one that I put on my list.
Yeah.
And then you look, that's about Rolex Submariner money. And,
but
and
then it's a chronograph comparing a chronograph to.
Yeah, true.
So
but
then
you could
I
compare
feel
the Defy, which is 8,
Yeah.
and 8 to 10.
But Rolex is just crazily good. Perhaps it's boring for many people, or a lot of people don't want to be seen with a brand. That's all fine, and I can also imagine it.
There is that baggage there, right? Henry wrote an article for us recently reviewing the latest Rolex Submariner, where he basically asks the question, is it possible to appreciate this Rolex Submariner today as just a great watch, and remove that sort of baggage that you might have as someone who's just into watches and getting more and more into watches, where you think, it's just for
I think if you're
banker folks. I mean,
if you're able to let that go for a little brief moment, just look at the product as such. There's almost no comparison. I think the only brand that comes close and is able to come close is Omega, because they innovate. They have the same kind of production methods. So it's those two brands, but we all know that Rolex is king. They are the number one in sales and whatsoever. Yeah. It's so difficult to even approach them remotely close.
For sure.
So Rolex is definitely
Omega is quite
for me.
a lot cheaper. It's
if
you look at comparable watches,
but if you think about
They're
everything, it's close. I think
it's
a
close.
Seamaster new on steel is 6.6 today.
So that's still far away from
quite
Sub.
far, and the Speedmaster is far away.
But the
from
321 that's Daytona money.
Yeah,
but I think that's for the fans and enthusiasts, and they buy it for a different reason. But then still, it's one of the very few brands that comes close to Rolex. But I think Rolex is an amazing, strong brand. They do amazing things. It's just you have to let go the how they deal with customers, the policy thing. I think that's an awful thing, to be honest.
I think there's something about someone who buys a Rolex, like say it's someone who has had a job for a while, they get a promotion, they get a bonus or something, and they buy themselves that watch, and then they have it for
But there's
forever.
the issue.
They have it forever, right?
You can't buy it.
You cannot
but
buy
no,
it.
that's
But
the thing,
once
right?
you can buy
But
it,
maybe these days,
it becomes easier. That's for sure.
Do you
There's
think
less
that's why
demand.
they bought Bugger?
No, I think it just was an opportunity.
Okay.
It was an opportunity. I also not sure how much involved they are in operations, because they always told me that Rolex doesn't deal with end clients. Rolex is a business-to-business company, and because we are not good at selling, was what they literally said. So in the end, I think, and they're correct, in the end they have partners for that, and you can debate whether they are good at selling. But
Exactly.
they make the watches and they sell the watches. They're all sold. So if people say, hey, I can't buy Rolex because they are not there, it's true, because the demand is so high, they are not there. I think the problem is that many of them, they end up in the gray market, because there are a lot of flippers and gray market dealers
The
who
watches
are able
there,
to buy
but
them. But if you can let that all go and look only at the watch, I think it's an amazing brand.
and we discussed this a little bit yesterday, but I think that in the current state of the watch world and the watch enthusiast space, it seems that the hype is kind of fading away a little bit, which means that all these speculative buyers,
they're out,
will slowly recede, and then suddenly it means that for those of us who are enthusiasts who genuinely want to buy a great product from a brand offering it, you will have the opportunity to do so, and you won't have to wait 2 years just to exchange your money for a product.
And perhaps the Daytona will still be difficult to get, and there was always also before this whole peak or bubble, the Daytona was always difficult. Well, not always, but the 90s and later it became difficult. But I think all the other models, it doesn't take that long anymore if you walk into an AD and sign up for one.
Exactly. Yeah, that's at least that's what we hear. That's the word on the street.
Yeah, and it's also what we hear, but what we also hear from dealers, and should not be that difficult anymore.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. Yeah. Well, Rolex underrated. I think we can ask our
Yeah, you
audience
need
to leave,
context.
yeah,
You need context for that.
Discuss in the comments, please. But also, Dan, did you have a third pick? Did you have a
No,
rapid
no,
fire?
I'm good.
Third pick? You're good.
I'm good.
Okay. I had a third pick, but we can skip it. I was gonna say CWC, Cabot Watch Company, out of the UK, providing watches for the military, the SBS, the SAS, and the British Air Force for many years, 50 years, I think almost. And they're it's not a very well known brand, and I don't know if they're underrated, but I like them a lot, and I think that they deserve a very quick shout out before we wrap up the podcast.
Well, I would be interested to learn indeed from our listeners and viewers on YouTube what they think is an underrated brand.
Yeah.
Perhaps it can
I
be
think so.
anything like
I think
Hublot or Patek, just Seiko,
exactly.
perhaps even a Citizen. Yeah,
I think that
Well, you
they should
named Rolex, so
definitely
it can be anything.
they should definitely
yeah,
they should definitely
But it
let
needs
us know.
context. So I also want to know the reason why.
Exactly. Yeah. Leave some proper like show your work, right? Like leave some proper reasoning there.
Yeah.
Don't just list a watch brand. Like we want to know why you think that
We
watch
can do
watch
a
brand's
sequel.
underrated. And then there's a chance that you might be comment of the week.
Ooh,
so
yes.
let's
we have
see
one.
our comment of the week. We do have one. It's from Loev Hagen 6984, who says summer must be over. They're all wearing socks.
It was
You're
in a
not
s-
wearing socks.
I'm
No,
not
he's not
wearing
wearing
socks,
socks.
but it is getting colder. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. I remember that episode, and we didn't have a great summer. I think
No.
we had some hot days, perhaps weeks, but
Certainly now it's
and it was recorded in the summer.
Yeah.
But it was one of those days where it was not very summery.
Sock
no,
weather.
no.
Yeah.
But we will know when winter indeed starts once Daan is wearing socks.
Yeah.
For now, it's
Not
still,
yet, not yet.
Still, we're still on summertime.
I'm
right?
still holding on to summer feeling.
Very
You
good.
gotta hang on to it. Perfect. Hey, well, thanks guys for the discussion, and of course, as always, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.